You know, time the California Legislature attempts to give instructions on bill intent and interpretation. So, for example, in a California bill, you might see either a statement of legislative intent. For example, it is the intent of the legislature to do X, or a legislative finding and declaration. For example, the legislature finds and declares that X. In other instances, a bill reader might come across bill language about how the legislature wants specific statutory language to be construed by either the executive branch administrative agency or the judicial branch of government. In either of these cases, the bill may have particular language to emphasize the intent of the legislature or even the manner in which the legislature desires the bill to be interpreted. Of course, this raises the question whether the administrative agency or the judiciary will follow those legislative instructions. So, what might an example be? Well, I took one from a recently enacted 2022 California legislative session bill, and it reads as follows. This act shall be construed to effectuate its legislative intent to support access to abortion in California and build upon California's commitment to be a reproductive freedom state. The United States Supreme Court overturned the protections to access abortion under Roe v. Wade. For decades, abortion funds, abortion providers, and other community based organizations have provided direct and indirect support to callers and people, and community based organizations have provided that support to patients with logistical and practical support needs. The purpose of this act ensures that people seeking abortion care have access to the logistical and practical support resources that are needed to diminish barriers to care. The purpose of this act and all of its provisions with respect to the powers granted shall be interpreted to effectuate that intent and those purposes to support organizations in California that provide support and resources to people seeking abortion. So, what we get from this language is the following. The first clause directs how the bill's language is to be construed, and that is to effectuate the bill's legislative intent to support access to abortion. Here, the legislature is quite clear and unambiguous in its desire when interpreting any provisions of this bill. They want the judiciary or the executive branch to keep clearly in mind the intent of the legislature as they've stated. Thereafter, the legislature provides some context and even historical background to explain why it's enacted this particular bill and what they're trying to accomplish. Following that, in fact, the legislature explains the purpose of this act is to do the following. And here again, the legislature clearly states its intended purpose behind the bill. The concluding sentence of this section of the bill again utilizes straightforward and clear language to not only state an additional purpose of the bill, but also to explain how the legislature expects this bill to be interpreted. Nonetheless, despite language that the act of this act and its provisions that they shall be interpreted in the specified manner, that is not binding on the courts or administrative agencies in this state.